Have you ever wanted more out of your relationships than people wanted to give you? Or do you often just feel overwhelmed by people? Or maybe relationships have always just confused you. Well, in this video, we're going to look at a driving force behind our relational pulls called attachment styles. Attachment theory describes the way that we interact with others throughout our lives. Research shows that everyone has two main phases for forming or molding how they attach to others. Childhood attachment comes within the first 2 years of your life with your parents or primary caregiver. The million little cumulative interactions, whether good, bad, or absent, determine the overall way in which you learn to make relationships work. Now, this isn't set in stone, but it does become an entrenched pattern that affects everyone on a neurological level as they develop. As everyone gets older and enters into significant but often romantic relationships outside of adolescence, they begin to form what is then called their adult attachment style. The two phases are important to keep in mind because you may hear different names for the 4 categories that we're going to discuss and that make up your attachment style. Now, one way to visualize these categories is with a bell curve. Close to 60% of adults form what is called a secure attachment. So this video will look at that section first. Secure attachments are characterized as having both a positive view of themselves and people who have a positive view of others. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, imagine a base camp for explorers. Now, in this camp, there are supplies, food, shelter, equipment, everything necessary to restock, rest, and prepare for leaving to go out on an expedition. Someone with a secure attachment knows that they can get back to the base camp when necessary, and so they're willing to risk an adventure out to explore. Now, in this illustration, the base camp represents their sense of self, their identity, purpose, meaning, everything that makes up who they are. Someone with a secure attachment knows who they are. And so the expeditions are when they go out to relate to others. And it's not always safe, but they have a balanced view of what to expect from others. And they know that they can trust themselves. People with secure attachments are confident that their needs will be appropriately met by others and from themselves. They're not afraid to ask questions or even to ask for help because their sense of self is not wholly dependent upon what other people think.
Hey, don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me.
And so they can maintain a healthy boundary in a relationship, and they know their limits, and they're willing to risk loss or hurt when being vulnerable with someone else. They still have a healthy fear of intimacy, but it doesn't drive them one way or the other on the scale. The foundation for a secure attachment style comes from parents or caregivers who are able to attune to them. They receive the necessary, often repeated sense of security and connection that solidified in them a sense of being understood and protected. This freed them then to form a balanced internal reality. So if a parent responds appropriately to a child's emotions, they learn to manage their feelings as well. And so this relational attunement and balance sets them up to enter into new relationships just as that, new. Be sure to check out my parenting video on attachment coming soon. And so this is the ideal, but to either side of a secure attachment, we have where the other roughly 40% of the population falls. And that's why I find the bell curve helpful, because it's more like a spectrum than these clear-cut black and white categories. The outside is called the insecure attachment styles, and they represent the imbalance that happens in our disordered desires. And they fall into 2 main categories, avoidant and anxious. Now, in the next 2 videos, we'll explore these other attachment styles. So I invite you to click on the link to those videos below. It's in taking an honest look at ourselves and our relational patterns that we can begin making appropriate steps toward living in the grace of a secure attachment style. The desire for connection and attunement with others is a good thing, but it's our bad strategies that give us disordered desires. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe for similar content. And be sure to check out my other videos on attachment styles, attachment for parenting, and how attachment relates to our relationship with God. As always, thanks for watching.